COVID was the best thing to happen to me, and I'm going to explain why. My name is Cameron Hourtovenko, and if you guys don't know, I'm a fourth-year biomedical biology student studying at Laurentian University. And my YouTube channel, I like to post videos on my journey from going from an unproductive fool to a hopefully productivity master in the future. Before we get into why COVID was the best thing that happened to me, I think it's important to get some context of just like my school life in high school and elementary school. So I was a fairly intelligent kid. I had a very curious mind. I love asking questions. You can even ask any of my parents. I would always ask questions about why things happened and what caused them. And it was coming to a point where it was getting a little bit annoying and my parents had to ask me to reduce my questions. It's kind of funny, but very curious mind, and I love to learn. Just like any, elementary boy, I did get distracted. I joked around in class and whatnot, but overall I paid attention and I managed to do very well, not only in elementary, but also in high school. And that ended up leading me to get to a program of my choice at Laurentian, which initially was nursing, but I switched into biomed because I realized that was the better choice for me. But I remember the summer after I graduated high school and before going into my first university, not only my family members, but also, older friends always mention that first university hits you like a truck, meaning like the amount of work required in order to succeed in university is vastly greater than high school, and that if I didn't get my act together and I didn't have a better work ethic, then I wouldn't succeed. But that was not the case for me in my first year. I remember doing extremely well. I think I had like a 9.8 GPA out of 10. Laurentian may have a 10.0 scale, so I think it's 88, 89%, which it's pretty good for university. And I remember that inflated my ego big time because, being told you're supposed to struggle in your first year, and then not only seeing some of my peers in university struggle, but then me succeeding with less effort than they needed to, it was kind of like, it was very ego lifting. And that didn't stay for long because COVID hit. So COVID didn't affect my first year, which is why I managed to do great. But starting the fall of 2020, so my first semester of second year, that's where COVID really showed me I had a really bad work ethic. As you guys all know, school went virtual, and with virtual, you just had your Zoom lectures. And Zoom lectures, at least at my school, cameras weren't required, and you didn't have to have your microphones on. So there was no accountability. When it came to in-person class, I always had this weird pressure, even though there's like 200 students in the class and you kind of get lost in the sea of students. I always had this feeling, where if I was gonna do something else and not pay attention, like go on my phone or go on my computer or something else, the teacher would catch me and publicly embarrass me or something. I don't know. So I always pay attention in class, and that's how I learned. I learned best by just listening to professors talk about their passions, and it worked well the first year. But second year, when there was no accountability, I could do whatever I want. I'd go on my phone, I'd watch movies, I'd even take naps. And it's really funny. There was this one time I logged on to my lecture on my phone so that I can listen to it while I worked out at the gym. And listened is what happened because I didn't really pay attention. So the problem is laziness. If you're lazy in the morning, that leaks to the rest of the day, and then those days leak to the next days, and next thing you know, you're just completely unproductive and have no motivation. And my GPA that first semester back with COVID was a 7.2. So that's about like a 75-ish. And coming from a biology degree and trying to get into med school, being a pre-med student, 7.2 was horrible, and it seriously affects my chance of getting to med school. And it was tough, and I was like, hey, I have to do better. Next semester, 7.4. Semester after that, 7.6. So again, I had 3 classes with the GPAs less than 7.6 and only 2 with GPAs of at least a 9.0. And it was tough. It was tough. Not only one did my GPA go so low that I didn't think there was any chance to bring my GPA back up for my med school application. Also, because of COVID, the rest of my application was weak because I couldn't volunteer. I wasn't able to work. You're just limited on what you could do to increase your application. And again, you can get into med school with the low GPA. It's not common, but you can. but the people who do have a solid, or better than a solid, a very good application overall. So, and I didn't have any of that. I didn't have a good grade or good application. So I was doubting everything. I started to hate learning. School was no longer interesting. I thought I will never even get into med school. And then I was also thinking, if I got into med school, I would end up failing my first year because I have no work ethic. And, you know, ask anyone in med school, it's like 10 times the amount of work of an undergrad degree. I lost all passion for learning. I lost all passion for medicine. And I was like, I like biology still, but I was already thinking of other career paths. So I was thinking, you know, maybe I'll go to teachers college and, you know, teach biology to high school students, which again, great career and it does sound fun, but I now know that medicine is what I want to do. But it was tough. But then second semester of my third year, I took a class with actually one of my favorite professors. Let me tell you, this guy is intelligent. I would argue genius level intelligence. He remembers everything and anything instantly, and he loves what he teaches. He's so passionate, and he loves seeing students passionate. So you can sit and listen to him talk for hours. And it's actually kind of funny because I do remember in that same class, our class ended at 7 p.m. and we'd all stay until like 7:30 just listening to him talk and asking questions. I didn't even have any questions to ask. I would just sit there and listen because just so fascinated by what he was saying. In that class, he said two things back to back that really stuck with me. And if he didn't say this, I wouldn't be going in the path that I'm going now. First thing he mentioned was that he actually failed organic chemistry. And then when he did it the second time, he passed, but he didn't pass with like a really good grade. I was shocked. I was like, hold on, this guy's a genius. He's a genius. And he didn't pass organic chemistry? I'm like, I passed organic chemistry. I thought it was easy. And I was like, hold on, this doesn't make sense. I'm like, I'm confused. And then he mentioned that he knew a few of the people who he argued were even more intelligent than he was, who also failed classes. And let me tell you, my world was flipped upside down. I was like, how are these genius level people passing classes? Like, you're a genius. You know, you're supposed to understand everything and just succeed. But the point he was making is that just because you don't do well on this one test or this one class or even this period of time, that doesn't mean you don't have the potential to do something great. He's a big proponent of sometimes situations happen and that because of that, your grade or how you perform in a certain thing is not as good as you want. He always says, like, you never know, maybe your girlfriend breaks up with you close to the exam, or your dog dies, or you argue with your parents, or you crashed your car. There's so many factors that could affect a single test or an examination. He said, but that doesn't determine your potential and who you are. And this, like, not only reignited my passion for medicine, but also for learning. Like, I hated learning, you know, a couple of weeks prior, because when you're not succeeding and you don't think you're good enough, learning isn't exciting anymore. But I started to love learning like I used to. And I was like, this is awesome. And again, I realized if I'm going to get into med school, let's put in the work. I know I haven't been succeeding the last 3 semesters. Doesn't mean I can't do it. It may take longer to get in. Oh, well. And it doesn't mean I'm not going to be a good physician. So from that moment on, I said, I'm getting into med school. And I had to change my strategies because when you're looking at the big picture of, oh, perfect application, interview, med school, it can be overwhelming. And especially when you don't have a good GPA, if you get overwhelmed, it's really easy to give up. And that's what was going on previously. So I changed my strategy to this. Focus one day at a time, one test at a time, one semester at a time. And the reason is, if you focus one day at a time and make that day better than the last, and you keep doing that, eventually you will have an insanely good semester. And then one test at a time. If I'm too busy focusing on the final and what grade I need to get, or focusing on the test next week, I'm not going to do well on my current test. So focus one test at a time. And then one semester at a time, meaning final exams are here, finish strong. And it's only been a single semester since then, but my GPA has already gone from a 7.8 to an 8.3, which is about an 82.9 or 83%, which again, is not very good for a med school application. But after only one semester, again, my GPA now is higher than I thought I could even reach, you know, a year ago. I thought it was not possible to get this GPA. So I know that focusing just one day at a time and just worrying about doing well in what's in front of you. So COVID was the best thing to happen to me for two reasons. One, it showed me that I didn't have a good work ethic, and that if I was going to not only get into med school, but also succeed in med school, I needed to improve my work ethic. Two, this situation was extremely humbling. And again, doing well in high school and first year university with, little effort, it's a very ego inflating. And having something that, hits you in the face and really humbles you, especially as a doctor, I know it's going to not only allow me to put my ego aside and focus on my studies so I know more to care for my patients, but also to be more empathetic with them. So that is why COVID was the best thing to ever happen to me. If you guys liked the video, don't be afraid to hit the like button. If you guys have any ideas of potential videos you want me to make in the future, put them in the comments. And again, like I mentioned previously, my channel posts my journey from unproductive to productive and some tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. So if you're interested in that, hit the subscribe button and click the bell if you want to be notified for when I post my next video. See you in the next one.